This was Dan from Kirkland in Quebec. And he says, maybe you can explain how to do this on your next web broadcast. My wife doesn't like our 17 plain wooden varnished doors anymore. Let's take a look at their doors. There they are. So she doesn't like these doors anymore. And she's got 17 of them in her house. So what she wants to do is replace them with new white shaker style. Well, there's what they're looking at buying, with the nice panels on it. So she wants to put these shaker doors in. And that's always fun. He says, I don't mind doing that, but I'm confused about how to easily transfer the hinge and handle assembly to the new doors with existing frames. Is there any easy way to punch out these hinges without complicated chiseling, especially when they have rounded corners? So we're going to take a look a little bit at that. It's the very first thing you have to really be careful is make sure the dimensions are exactly the same. Because if they don't fit in exactly the same way into the door, everything's going to be off. So if it's exactly the same height, well, the height we can trim a little bit, but the width we can't play much with. So you've got to make sure that your new doors are going to fit in exactly the same place as the old doors. Okay? Now you say mortising for hinges. I just wanted to show you a few pictures here. This is one of the most common ways to do a mortise when you're not in production. It's called a mortise stamp. And what it is a plate, and 3 of these edges are bent down and sharpened. So when you hammer it in, it scores not only the exact size of your hinge, but the exact depth. Now you've got to get the wood out, but at least it scores it that way. This is one gadget we can use. This is a hand router, a manual router. When you think about routers as something that spins around really fast and does its job, well, we use that for this job too. But you may not have known these exist. They're either small like this or a little bit larger. It's a little chisel on a foot shape that goes to a very specific depth, and it allows you to just bottom out those hinges perfectly. Or we have a way of cutting corners. Now, you said you wanted round corners, but when you use a router, you get round corners anyway. And if you don't want them, here's a corner chisel. This is what it looks like a little closer. It's a corner piece of wood, right angle, that you hammer into the corner. It nestles in. These guides will hold it in the right place. And then it punches in and basically just punches out the corners on those things so that it comes out nice and clean. And then on the other side, for doing the rest of it, there are templates and there are all kinds of jigs that you can use. Here you see the template. It literally shows you where it goes. You might even notice there's 2 lines here. Important. There's 2 different setbacks. So you got to really make sure you know which one is in your present door, so you use it proper way to match the hardware with the other door. And so you can drill out here and drill in there, or you can get a whole gadget that holds the drills and guides them for you. So all these things are available in hardware stores now. What I want to show you that we don't have pictures of. Let's go here, and here's a really lousy hinge set or mortise set on a board. Let's call this a door. I just threw this together this afternoon to be able to show you a couple of tricks. So you can see here the sort of mortise for the hinge. This one's not very deep, but you'll have 2 or 3 of them on the door. The question is, if you take a tape measure and start to measure these and transfer that over to your other door, it's probably not going to work very well. So what you want to do is bring the other door in and lay it right in like this, right next to it in exactly the same position. Then, and I think you can still see, let me tip this up just a little bit, you can see it better. You can still see that hinge, kind of the mortise sticking through there. There you go, you can see that mortise there. Well, the nice thing about it, there's a nice rigid edge. So if I bring a chisel and rest it right on the edge and put it on this door, much better than a pencil, and I do this, and you can do the second and third one, what you'll get is the exact marking for the spacing of the 3 hinges on the door, the 2 hinges on the door. So they will perfectly match what's on the wall when you want to put it up. Okay? The other side, the old door, it has a hole in it, like this. Now, how do we transfer that whole assembly to the right place over on this door? Well, what you have to do is draw a very centered line over that hole. So you work a little bit to really find the center of that hole, and just draw a line. All we need is the center line. With the center line here, we can actually do the whole thing because we very simply come up here, hit the center line with the chisel on the old door just a little bit, just to know where we are. Again, butt your door together and line it up on each end. If you need somebody to hold that, have them do it. And then I set the chisel into that hole, you see, or I can come over this way, set it right into the hole, and carry that over to the other side. And now we have an exact mark to be able to come across and make our center line for the other side. So that will transfer the exact position of the handle and the exact position of the hinges. Then you'll have to do the mortising out. Usually done with a router, and if you do a router with the bit the same size as the curve, you don't have any more cleaning out to do. So it can be, it's a long job. And in fact, with 17 doors, I would probably go to the store or go to a specialty woodworking store and get one of these jigs. Some of them are just plastic, some of them are metal. It's a jig that actually is for the hinge size you want and tells you what bit to use in the router, and then your router, you hook the jig on, clamp it in place, run the router around, and it's done. Go to the next one. It's the right depth, everything else is taken care of. So for 17 doors, it's worth getting a jig to do that instead of doing it by hand. Okay? I hope that helps you, Dan.